I'll tell you the story of First Nordic Metals, Scandinavian's second largest gold deposit and Sweden's largest undeveloped gold deposit. So I'll be making some forward-looking statements. We start in the Nordic and the Nordic Advantage. We have three projects: the Storjukten project, the Barsele project, and the Påbacken project in northern Sweden. We also have the Ojärvi project, which we acquired in Finland from Agnico Eagle. Really the reason we got into Sweden predominantly is incredibly underexplored region. Only opened up to modern exploration in the mid-90s. So you've only had maybe 25, 30 years of mineral exploration using modern technology, but you've got incredibly secure tenure. You've got a first world, jurisdiction, a long history of mining, I think over 1,000 years of gold mining in Sweden. So very low political risk. And you can also have first mover advantage where you get into this area, you grab large land positions, and you could do systematic exploration over large, extensive projects. Very low corporate tax as well, and again, just a fantastic jurisdiction for us to be operating in. In northern Sweden, you have two main belts. You have the Skellefteå VMS belt, where Boliden has put extensive mines into production and continues to develop. And you've got here on the left the Gold Line belt, which is a north-south trending greenstone belt. You can see this belt is covered in past producing mines. You've got Dragon Mining on the south, which has an operating mill right beside one of our new discoveries. And you've got over 100 kilometers of land that we've put together into a land package through the merger that we completed. So the Storjukten project to the north, the Påbacken project to the south are both over 40 kilometers in length. And with the Barsele project in the middle, you've got 104,000 hectares and over 100 kilometers of greenstone belt, all controlled by one company. Our flagship project is the Barsele project, which is a joint venture with Agnico Eagle and is a 2.4 million ounce gold resource at about 3 grams per ton gold. If you look at this belt and compare it to what you might see in the Abitibi in Quebec, let's just go back 80 years, the same sort of land package, the same size of tenure. Here at the Abitibi in Quebec would have had 100 million ounces of production. You'd have 10 to 15 developed projects, focusing on a central processing facility. So we're trying to build a camp. We're trying to show our joint venture partner that there will be a second and third deposit on this belt, and will make for an incredibly exciting district play here in northern Sweden. On the capital structure side, we had a very busy year last year. We completed our merger in February 2024. We renamed the company First Nordic Metals, and we started to work to get the story out to the public. It's a story that, both Gold Line and Barsele historically had a market cap total of about $300 million combined. And today we have $120 to $130 million market cap. We have just over $10 million in the bank, 263 million shares outstanding. The stock trades very well, 500,000 to 1 million shares a day. We completed a bought deal financing in November 2024. That was for $11.5 million, led by Haywood Securities. And we've got a nice distribution of shares here. We've got institutional owners of about 40%, which are predominantly U.S. institutions, long-standing shareholders that have been with us for close to a decade. Insiders are about 18%. Agnico came in July 2024 for about 13%, and today is an 11% shareholder, and retail represents about 30% of the company. We traded over 100 million shares last year, so I think we've got an entirely new shareholder base that's looking forward to some of our exploration success this year. Focusing on the joint venture with Agnico, this is our flagship asset. It's a 55% ownership by Agnico at the project level, and we are 45% shareholders. We also have a free carry to 70%, so we don't spend a dime here. We don't have any carrying costs, but we also can't really drive the exploration and development of the project. Today, that is controlled by Agnico. They have done over 165,000 meters of drilling. US $55 million has been spent. They entered this joint venture in 2015 when the original discovery was made. They've spent $20 million a year for the next 3 years or so, and ultimately earned their 55%. But when they first did this joint venture, they were a $4 billion company. Today, they are a I would say, $50–55 billion company. So what meets the criteria for Agnico today is very different than what it might have done back in 2015. So Agnico is looking for somewhere between 500,000 ounces per year production plus to really move ahead on a capital idea. This would be about a 200,000 ounce producing project per year. I will note also there is a nationally designated mining status. So Sweden has designated this for future mining. So we're obviously quite confident that we will be able to get permits done quite quickly once we're at that stage and moving ahead. Looking at the long section here of the project, we've got the Avan zone, the Central zone, and the Skarasen zone. The average grade of the deposit is just under 3 grams per ton. And most importantly, you've got starter pits, but this will predominantly be an underground mine. And again, we're not talking narrow vein mining. We're talking about big, wide open, bulk underground, long hole open stope mining. This is 40–50 meter stopes, so incredibly wide, well disseminated 3 grams per ton. I will say the deposit and the resource only here is measured to 500 meters depth. So if you extrapolated another 500 meters depth, we have mineralization down to 1,000 meters. The grade is consistent and continues to plunge. The structure goes down at least a couple kilometers, if not more. This is a traditional greenstone belt that likely goes substantially deeper than where we are today with 500 meters. So we really think this is well over 4 million ounces. And I will say we did an internal PEA. That's not a public document. But we looked at $2,000 price of gold, and we found the NPV to be about 1.1 billion US, using an 8% discount and delivering about a 40% IRR. This is a very healthy project. It may not be a top tier project, but it is definitely tier 2 and at the top spectrum of tier 2. This will be a mine, no doubt, whether we're putting it into production or someone else. This will be a gold mine. Currently, Sweden's largest undeveloped and Europe's second largest undeveloped in a public company. And again, just I'm gonna skim over this. I'm not an engineer, so I won't get too detailed here. But 200-meter wide zones. There's about 65 lenses that are stacked like a bookshelf, and there's lower grade disseminated material between this. So we're talking. Let's make the assumption that we had control of this. It was well known that Barcellay was trying to buy this from Agnico 3–4 years ago and failed on the funding side. So we are actively pursuing a potential transaction to further consolidate this. But we're talking, you've got 200-meter widths here of 2 gram per ton material. So if we had this and we were doing infill drilling and resource expansion, you'd have a consistent communication to the market of hundreds of meters of multi-gram material, and really just bring this back to the attention that it deserves. It's been buried in Agnico for close to a decade now, and we think this is the kind of market and this is the kind of opportunity to get control, move it along, and this is a PEA level project today. The resource is 2.4 million ounces. 2 million of it is in the inferred category, so it's a solid bulk underground grades, very significant widths, 10 to 100 meter wide widths. The strike length is about 3.5 kilometers. Very simple metallurgy, free milling sulfide. You'd have 93 to 96% recoveries, 40 to 50% recovered through conventional gravity circuit. So again, very simple operation. Resource growth at depth, we know that goes to 1,000 meters plus, and we really want to just get control of it and start drilling it. There's other regional targets here that are not part of this resource as well. So this is a very conservative resource put on by, I would say, the best gold mining company in the world. So I think this resource uses a $1,300 gold cutoff price. This was done in 2019. And again, very conservative estimates. So in today's standards, this could probably be 3 million ounces today. And just to show some of the incredible low mining costs operated in Sweden, I will note you have hydroelectric power. You've got 3 cents a kilowatt hour for energy. At some points, you almost have negative energy. So you've got an incredibly exciting opportunity to do very low-cost mining. The Björkdal mine, which is in Västerbotten, which is a very good analog to this, their long-hole open stoping, their average head grade, their grade is about 1.6 grams per ton. We would be 2.7. And you've got underground mining costs of about $25 a ton. So again, this is for a mill float concentrate where the recoveries are about 85%. We would be a mill CIL at about 92 to 95%. So incredibly opportunistic time to be putting mines into production. I will say the government in Sweden is very pro mining, has moved to permit 2 new mines last year, which are the first 2 mines that were permitted in over a decade. So we're seeing a lot of progress on the permitting and side of things. So that's really our foundational asset. I think today's market cap of our company only takes into consideration the 45% ownership in the Barselli project. But remember, we have over 80 kilometers of strike length around Barselli to make a second and third discovery. The Aida target is our most advanced exploration target. This is in the southern part of the Gold Line belt. So I don't know if that laser works. Right at the bottom, you could see this is the southern concession of our project area. I will also note there's an operating mill here by Dragon Mining about 4 kilometers away. This is essentially the northern extension discovery that we've made of the 400,000 ounces that were mined out about 10 years ago. You can see here over a 4-kilometer structurally controlled corridor. So here in Sweden, you've got glacial till, so you don't really see anything at surface. You've got to do geochemistry, you've got to do structural understanding. And this first order structure goes through the entirety of our entire 100-kilometer land package. So on the southern belt here in 2021, we did base of till drilling. These blue dots are like 15-meter holes that you do to find the bedrock and test the bedrock. And we started to see like 2, 3, 5 grams per ton in bedrock. That's an automatic in Sweden. That's an automatic drill target. We put the drill down, and on our third drill hole, we hit 22.5 meters of 2.5 grams per ton. So this was a new discovery. This was on our third drill hole. Back in 2021, I only did maybe 1,100 meters to test about 800 meters of this structure. We've now done completion of the bot drilling in this area. We've initiated a 10,000 meter drill program. We are about 8 holes into that drill program, and we're adding a second rig. So we're very excited about what we're seeing coming out of the ground today. You're going to see results from this blue sky sort of second potential discovery here at the Gold Line belt, and you'll see those results probably within the next month. We're testing 500 meter step outs as well, so we're testing the entirety of the belt. So again, our most advanced target, 10,000 meters, and this will take us well through into the summer. Moving north on the belt, and remember the Barseley project, the footprint was about a 3-kilometer anomaly. This is our targets 2 and 3 called Brokahan and Harpsen. This is a little bit further north of the Aida target, but this is a 5.5 kilometer geochemical anomaly. We've done all the surface sampling, almost 7,000 samples over 2 years. So we've got a very good understanding of what's happening at the surface. There is glacial movement, so you don't really know for sure, but you do these short percussion holes, which we've now completed. We should have results out on those holes, I would say, in the next 3 to 4 weeks as well. This will likely be our next highest priority target, and we have budgeted 5,000 to 10,000 meters of drilling for this as well in the second half of 2025. And now, if it wasn't enough to have 3 of these very large kilometric targets, we have a 4th up at Nippes. This is now north of the Barseley target. So again, many years of work to do all this sampling, all the structural understanding, the geophysics. And we've completed, again, almost 4,500 samples here, almost identical to what you'd see at the Barseley deposit when it comes to geochemical anomalies, all the same pathfinder elements. We've also completed over 250 base of till drill holes here that will be coming to market again in the next month or so. So in the next 4 weeks, you're going to see drilling results, you're going to see base of till results, and assuming we get something similar to what we're seeing at Aida, this will be our third 5,000 to 10,000 meter drill program, all fully funded through 2025 into 2026. So a very target-rich environment to start with, a large land package, and as we progress and we advance these targets over time, we have 4 new multi-kilometric anomalies identified on the belt. So we now have over 8 multi-kilometric anomalies on the belt. And again, you can imagine as an exploration company, it's really exciting to be able to apply the same techniques. The team is learning year after year. We're collaborating our data sets with Agnico, so we're leveraging their decade-long institutional knowledge of the area. We will make a second and third discovery on this belt. It's just a question of how long and how much capital it will take. And as a business, obviously, the lowest hanging fruit is to complete consolidation of the Barselli project to allow us to advance that project. That would be the fastest way to re-rate the stock. But ultimately, we're not afraid to apply capital to highly targeted exploration. We have a phenomenal team that we're building, and we will continue to expand on that team. I'm the founder of Goldline Resources that had Barsele surrounded. About a year and a half ago, I partnered with Taj Singh, and he came in as CEO. Taj is a former mining analyst. He's a mining engineer and a metallurgist. He's had over four builds in his time through Vale. He's moved through the sector as an analyst. He became co-founder and CEO of Discovery Silver, which is now I think the world's largest undeveloped silver deposit. He took that from 10 million market cap to 800 million market cap. He was also founding director of GT Gold that sold to Newmont for 450 million. I'm partnered by Benjamin Gelber, who I worked with, both Benjamin Gelber and John Aaron as VP Corp Dev. We all worked at Caden Resources together and Keegan Resources, so we've been through the discovery cycle. We've raised hundreds of millions of dollars in our careers. Ben has put Galiano through, Asanko originally through to commercial production, spent some time at Barrick, and then I attracted him to this amazing land package we put together here in northern Sweden. On the non-executive directors, we've put a great board of directors together as well. We've got Toby Pierce, former CEO of Tag Oil and former head of research at GMP London. Toby's our chairman, and Toby and I identified this opportunity 5 years ago together and moved it ahead. We recently listed our shares on the Sweden Stock Exchange, so we are listed on the First North now as Sweden's largest undeveloped gold deposit. Henrik Lundin joined us on the board here a few months ago, and again brings us further local institutional knowledge of the investor base in Sweden. And obviously we're pitching and building our structure and our plans to acquire the Barsele project. Part of that plan is to have, Mark Legault on the board, who joined about a year ago, a 35-year veteran of Agnico. So we're doing everything we can to set the stage for us to demonstrate technical competency, commitment to the local stakeholders, and most importantly, financing the project throughout its development. Gary Cope was the founder of Barsele Minerals. He's on our board and a very large shareholder, very supportive of our plans. And we added Jeff Couch last year as well, who is former head of mining and banking, Bank of Montreal in London. So that kind of rounds out our team. We've put a plan together to consolidate this belt. This is a project that will be in production. This is a mine, and I think we're going to find another couple deposits here with extensive exploration on the belt. And we'll leave it for some questions.
Any questions from the floor? Tell us about the ESG credentials you have to follow, being that Scandinavia is otherwise probably a leader as far as social engagement.
It starts by it starts by having hydroelectric power. I mean, that is the starting point for a lot of the mineral development that's going on in northern Sweden. Listen, whether you're operating in Sweden or other parts of the world, you've got to follow the highest level of ESG possible. So we're very sensitive to the environment. We're very sensitive to our processes of drilling and exploration, and we're incredibly diligent in making sure that we leave a better footprint than we received when we start our exploration programs. And with respect to the Barsele project, we follow Agnico's lead. They're leaders in ESG globally. So we've got environmental studies that have been going on for probably a decade now. We've got this is probably the most studied project in Europe that hasn't been advanced. So, we've got tremendous institutional knowledge and respect for the ESG policies that Agnico has instituted.
Question in the front.
You mentioned glacial till. Mm-hmm. And how do you, and you got percussion drilling, I guess. You're hitting the bedrock, and bedrock is continuous?
Sorry, the last part?
Bedrock.
What you're doing is you're doing sampling at surface, you're doing geochemical sampling, you're doing structural understanding with geophysics, and then you're doing RAB drilling, essentially, 15, 20, 25-meter holes. You're going into the bedrock, you're testing the surface bedrock, then you're going 2 meters in, and you're testing within bedrock. So it's about $1,000 a hole. It's a little bit more costly than trenching and sampling, but it's very detailed. As soon as you hit that bedrock, and as soon as you get more than 0.2 ppm, I mean, you're off to the races. You have a system going on there.
Permitting side, you said that Sweden is open for business. Yeah. Can you just talk about it a bit more in terms of timing of the permits? How long will it take? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there was a mine that was permitted. It took about 24 months for Botnia Mining to get its permit. It's a smaller mine. and they did a good job of getting that permit done in about 2 years. So I think you're talking about 24 to 30 months, probably, assuming all your baseline studies are complete. So that you've seen a little bit more stability. We are very active with the government and with all the mining ministers. We've been working with Agnico to try and create a very stable permitting, a very clear permitting process for Sweden. But I think, they did permit another mine that went underground. So I think having an underground mine is quite advantageous for the way things are moving. A gold mine, especially a small gold mine like this, could be a very low footprint in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, I think you're 24 to 30 months is probably the timeline. Yes. Yeah.
And tell us a bit about your community engagement work.
Yeah, I mean, we're with the community probably every 2 months. We're meeting with local ministers. We're meeting with all the local constituents. Barsele and Agnico has built a phenomenal team with that community. That's probably, talking to them, it's probably one of the best things that they've done in Scandinavia is build that team. And they've been actively waiting to advance the project. So I think it's been a little bit frustrating for the lack of progress that we've seen on the ground. But, these things take years to kind of materialize. And, between the Agnico's work over the last decade and the work that we've done over the last 2 to 3 years, we've got fantastic relations locally. And again, working with Agnico, obviously they expect you to advance your projects and put capital in the ground, but they also expect you to be a leader in the community. And I think we've demonstrated that over the last 18 months. We've done tremendous work building those relationships. We listed in Stockholm. We've got articles across all the distribution networks. We've got local newspapers writing about us. So, we're trying to really build a groundswell around the momentum here. And if you know the project Northvolt in northern Sweden, Northvolt went bankrupt, and there's thousands of jobs that have been lost. So we have a project here that could produce easily 1,000 jobs directly, and indirectly another couple thousand jobs. So it's a very important project for the community. Everyone's waiting. Dragon Mining has been operating there for 15, 20 years, and they sort of wound down their production, 8, 10 years ago. So there's a tremendous need for jobs, and I think we've done everything we can. I don't think we could do anything better at this point.
And you're one of the farthest north major gold projects. Tell us a bit about the logistics up there.
Logistics, someone once said it's like going for a picnic in northern Sweden. You fly into Stockholm. You now have direct flights to Stockholm. You get on a flight that goes 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a day to Lycksele, and you fly in. It's about an hour flight. You get off the plane. You rent a Volvo because you're in Sweden. You got to have the Volvo. And you drive that thing. That road goes right up to within 50 meters of our discovery hole. You can get out of the car and you can walk up the hill and see our discovery hole. You can drive it up to Stormen. There's a 4-lane highway. You go right into the Barsele project. You've got power lines and hydroelectric power literally going over the project area. So you've got infrastructure, you've got roads, you've got a little town. I mean, it's the most perfect northern, gold project. No need for helicopter access. It's get on a plane, drive for 45 minutes, and you're there.
Any further questions from the audience?
Quick question. Any other geographies that you may be considering, or always a Sweden-centric company?
It's Sweden-centered company. We want to advance the project. We want to be the ones that move this thing forward. We've listed in Sweden. We're building Swedish directorship. We've got new Swedish investors coming in. So this is going to be a Swedish-focused company. 20% corporate tax rate.
And that's flat?
Flat. Yeah, incredible tax rate. Personal tax rate's high. They've got lots of incentives for investors to have trading accounts and make investments, but ultimately 20% tax rate. Very good tax rate. No royalties, yeah.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
Our next speaker represents Contango Ore, which